Okay.
I think
What the hell?
he hit
Did he
leave
push
instead of end
leave
recording.
instead of?
Oh,
Oh
no.
no! Are we
I don't
still?
think we
We
can
are still
end it.
recording. We can't do anything. Oh no, Dan, we're stuck in this recording abyss. Yeah, crying.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Words, Words, Words. I'm Daniel.
I'm Heidi.
I'm Colin.
And today we've got a fun little holiday read for you. It's The Hogfather by Terry Pratchett, one of the Discworld novels. Before we get into that, I'd like to open everything with a little bit of a question. So I guess my question for you guys today, kind of related to the book, kind of not, just get to know us a little bit. What's your favorite holiday and why?
My favorite holiday, hands down, Thanksgiving. I'm a huge Thanksgiving guy. I think it has the fun aspect of Christmas in the sense that, extended family gets together. I live in California and my whole family lives in Louisiana and Texas, so I don't get to see my family that much, so I really do look forward to that. So I like Thanksgiving with that, but you also don't have like the additional financial stress that comes along with Christmas. And my whole family is from the South, so they're really, really, really good cooks. So I get amazing food. There's football. There's usually good basketball.
Nice.
It's heaven. That's my holiday.
It's going to sound a little blasphemous, but I did for Thanksgiving get the Popeyes Cajun turkey last year. And I will say, I did not expect Cajun seasoning on a turkey to taste pretty good. But if we're talking about Louisiana, known for its Cajun cooking, Cajun turkeys are pretty darn good.
The Popeyes one's really good too. I will say that one is really good.
I think my favorite holiday is also Thanksgiving for a lot of the same reasons Colin said. Sports, food, family. It's just all around a good time. But I also have a hard time not saying Halloween just because I love horror so much that, and like, this is the time of year when all of that content is being pushed out the most. So I always get new there's like new books and movies that always come out this time of year, and the spooky decorations and all that stuff. As far as like the actual holiday in general, it's fine. Like I'm 30, so I don't trick or treat. I don't really dress up. I never really did, honestly. Occasionally,
Never done
I
a
guess,
couple's
growing
costume?
up. No,
With your
dress up?
We don't, like, I don't have that many friends. Like, I don't go to Halloween parties because I have 4 friends. Like, we gonna all dress up and I don't know. Maybe that's lame, I guess. But
If
like,
we all lived closer, we'd throw one hell of a Halloween party.
sure,
That's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
That's crazy to
Actually,
me. You
I
don't dress
changed
up.
all
It's
of
so
my answer.
fun.
No, it is fun, I guess. But I actually just changed my answer. My favorite holiday is the Super Bowl, and it is a holiday, and I don't care what anybody says.
It's my favorite
it's
holiday last
food
year for sure.
And sports, and I love football the most. So I just said 3
If
holidays.
only your charges could make it.
Violent.
Mine would probably be Christmas. No, I used to be a lot more religious than I am now. My mom's father was a Lutheran minister, so I was very much raised in that, go to church every Sunday kind of mentality. There's something special, especially as somebody who also is a trained musician and loves the music side of it. Going to church on Christmas Eve, again, it was my mom's favorite holiday, so like she one of the times, I'm just going to say she used to love to hear me sing like "Oh Holy Night" as a solo, and meaning that much to her was a big deal. But also just kind of it was just a kind of special time of the year. We would hang out at my grandparents' place Christmas Eve, then have Christmas for ourselves. plus the Christmas Eve service. I've done when I worked at a Catholic church, I did a midnight mass, which was pretty damn cool as far as just like singing some classical Christmas kind of music in this, Gothic kind of cathedral. Yeah, I'm not nearly as religious anymore, but that still holds a lot of good memories, and Christmas always means a lot to me. So,
That's a good one.
Hogfather. First impressions. I know both of you had an earlier introduction to Discworld than I did, so I'm curious to hear your first impressions. I read 2 Discworld books this week, and those were my first 2 Discworld books. I know both of you have read them prior.
Yeah, I have read now 9 Discworld books, which sounds like a lot, but well, I guess it is, but there's like 40. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not that many. I really enjoyed Hogfather. Super fun. The character of Death is very recurring. I think, as far as I know, he shows up in every Discworld and is very interesting and is a highlight anytime he shows up. So it's cool to read another one that he is like a star player. I read Mort also, which is my favorite Discworld, but
That was the first one that I read this week, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was very fun, very like most of the Discworlds, at least the ones that I've read. Very fun, very silly, very funny, very British.
Very British.
I was gonna say, yeah, I had the exact same thought when you said that you love Monty Python. I love Monty Python too, and this book is literally just feels like reading a long Monty Python sketch. And I really like this one too. I've only had one other prior Discworld experience, and that's The Color of Magic. I liked Color of
That's the
Magic.
first
I didn't
one, right?
love it. Yeah, it's the first published one, and I liked it, but it's so just aggressively silly that I kind of just had to like take like a mental reset after it, and I just wasn't too keen to jump into The Light Fantastic, I think is what they say you should read after that one. So this one I kind of approached with some, cautious optimism. I liked The Color of Magic, and I know Terry Pratchett's hilarious, but I loved this one a lot more than I liked The Color of Magic. This one it's nonstop funny. And one of you guys had a good point in our pre-show chat that the jokes actually move the plot forward instead of the plot just being a means to get to more jokes. And you really do, you see Pratchett understands his characters a lot more in this book and understands how to actually use the jokes to move the story forward as plot devices. And it's really well done. So yeah, my gut reaction, I'm really positive on this one. I loved it.
Yeah, I read a little bit I read an interview from Pratchett that said that Mort was his first book that he was actually happy with in Discworld because of what you just said, Colin, where the jokes served the plot rather than the plot being secondary to the jokes and just forwarding them. So by the 20th book, which Hogfather is in Discworld, he's really honed in on that. Yeah, the first book that I ever read of Terry Pratchett was a couple decades ago, and I can't believe I never actually got into Discworld because I loved Good Omens, if either of you read that growing up. Now, of course, it's a Prime series, but yeah, I think I first read that book when I was in high school. And I loved it, and I convinced myself that like I liked Neil Gaiman, that side of it more, but I think having read Discworld now that I was actually more drawn to the Terry Pratchettness of it, because I will say I don't know 100% of how that book was written, but if you've ever read it, it has the style of a Discworld book with the footnotes and everything like that, where if you told me Terry Pratchett wrote most of it, like wrote most of the actual text, I would believe you. Have either of you read Good Omens?
I have not.
I have not, no.
It's worth a read. Have either of you seen the Prime series?
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Do you know the basic gist of that?
Honestly, I don't even know the basic
Nope.
gist.
Okay.
don't.
Basically, it's the Book of Revelations written by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman.
Okay. Interesting.
That's interesting. It's a hell of a tagline.
Basically, the Omen, where Damien gets adopted, but where forces are trying to both end the world, but also make him remember that he's one of the good guys. But it's also like a switch at birth kind of thing where he's not delivered to the aristocratic people in the Omen. He's delivered to just like a normal family in like bumfuck nowhere.
What?
And it's great. But back to the book that we're actually talking about today.
Yeah.
What, because Colin, I know you said that you laughed your ass off. What were some of the jokes, if you remember any, that landed the best for you, or how does the humor enhance, or even maybe take away occasionally from some of the deeper themes?
Yeah, that's one thing I've loved. And Color Magic had this great too. It's more so like, there's some great jokes in it, but it's more so the bits for me that get it. Like Color Magic has a great one where they're explaining the concept of insurance to the people, and it just blows everybody's mind. And they're like, insurance? What does that mean? And basically he's like, so I'm gambling. And it's like, yeah, you kind of are. But in this one, the ho 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 bit is so good. It cracks me up every time. He's like, ho 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 ho. My favorite like moment though in this book that made me laugh the hardest is when he gives the little girl a sword, and
Yes.
they're all
my
just like
God.
appalled. They're like, how could you give this little girl a sword? He's like,
It's so
a great
dangerous.
lesson.
It's a sword. It's meant to be.
There's so many good ones like that. Anytime the mouse and
Yeah.
Raven were on the page, I knew I was going to be
Yeah, the
laughing
God
too.
of Rat, or the Death of Rats.
The death of rat.
Also,
Yeah.
the Oh God of Hangovers is such
my
a good
gosh.
bit too.
I
My
wanna talk
favorite
more about the
one-liner.
Oh God of Hangovers.
AC said, "I have the attention span of a chicken in a hurricane." just so random. It's so funny. Those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, gosh, the Death of Rats was like, it's so stupid and also implies so much. Like, is there the death of everything? Like the death of dogs? Like it just makes it funnier because like it opens up a whole new world. The Oh God of Hangovers was funny, but also sounds like such a horrific existence. Like, I felt so bad for him.
The imp.
Like, this book is like, it's so full of one-liners that are like, sometimes they're just funny and sometimes they're like, well, now hold on. That's actually really deep. And that's kind of like Discworld as a whole. Like, that's just such a strong point. Like a very big pro of Terry Pratchett that I have come to really enjoy is that like, it's so funny, but then also you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that actually hits.
We'll talk about one of those a little bit later, because I think we need to break down a little bit Death's big thesis statement at the
for
end.
sure.
It's really good.
But one of my favorite bits, I think, was, and it's crazy because this was written in '96, but it just Hex and the AI, and basically
Yeah,
Death becoming
real
the first person to
stupidity.
try to hack Chat GPT to make it do exactly what it wants it to do.
That's
And
such
then-
that's such like like Heidi was alluding. The real stupidity beats artificial intelligence every time.
Yeah.
I had to check the date this book was written. I
Serious.
was like, if he only could know how
Well, he would have had a
It's
field day with Chat GPT and Claude and everything
insanely
else.
prevalent that is right now.
Especially with how it's making everybody dumber by, students not using it or not
I
actually
love
doing
the-
their own work and trying
Yeah.
to rely on that. He was doing that back in '96. Terry Pratchett was. He was a little bit of a prophet in that regard.
Yeah.
So kind of tying into my next question, but also just I love the idea, and it reminded me so much of A Nightmare Before Christmas, of just Death flying around, being the Hogfather, Santa Claus, whatever you want to. Obviously, the Hogfather is a stand-in for Santa Claus, but as somebody who loved The Nightmare Before Christmas, same idea of just skeletal man in a sleigh delivering presents that he has no idea. Now, obviously, Death is not delivering snakes and stuff, but he is being quite literal about it. So how does that work for you? That whole Death as the Hogfather bit.
It's so good to me. It's so funny because, I mean, the whole premise of the book itself is so funny, right? The idea that our big bads are like some auditors here that are just trying to like make the world more practical. But like Death himself has to go be Santa Claus, but you're like, it's so opposite. And he's being so, like you said, so literal. Like he has to actually be Santa Claus, and he doesn't have that Santa Claus magic, so somebody asked for a pony, he's giving them a pony. He puts it
Yeah.
he puts it in their bedroom though, thankfully. It's more hygienic that way.
Yes, rather than the kitchen.
right in the kitchen. It's so funny. But then, Death is an interesting character. And that's when I do wish I read some of the other Death books prior because he's more layered than the other characters in Discworld, like his connection to Susan and uh, just his like how he's probably not supposed to love humans, but in a way really is attached to humanity and is the overall like in the what's the word the auditors hate, the
Anthropomorphic.
anthropomorphic, that he is like the quintessential anthropomorphic figure, and now he has to stand in for Santa. It just works so well for me. He's so good. He's so funny, and he's not trying to be funny, and it's just great.
I also love Death. He's so interesting. He's so, like you said, Colin, he's so layered. And every time he's in a scene in the Discworld books that he is not like the main player of, it's always so interesting. It's interesting how other characters interact with him and react to him. And I read more. That was the other Death book I read. I think there's like 4 or 5 total, and I've been reading in order, but I might.
And Hogfather's a 4th. So in between Mort and
Okay.
Hogfather, there's Soul Music, and I don't remember what the other one was.
Reaper Man, I think, or something.
Yes, that will be it.
Yeah, I've been reading in order, but I might skip around and read the Death books because I love him so much.
Yeah. So it's Mort, Reaper Man, Soul Music, Hogfather, and then the 5th one is Thief of Time, which apparently also is also has Susan in it, who
Makes sense.
became a favorite of mine in the book. But with all of that, with how Death is treating the holiday, like you said, Heidi, Pratchett definitely has some deeper themes here. So what's being said about the commercialization of the holiday? Because I think one of the moments, at least to me, that stuck out in the book, and it's actually a really fun moment in the miniseries that Sky One recorded, the mall manager literally breaking down and being like, "Arrest that man!" Because he's just giving out presents, sir. That whole interaction between him and the police. But yeah, what do you think he's kind of getting at there? I mean, is it just surface level, or what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, there's also a part where him and Albert talk, like Death talks to Albert a lot, and I think Albert is such an important character for Death to like riff off of, and also like he provides a lot of the explanations and stuff.
And
or
something
like
that
the
Colin
think
probably
piece.
doesn't know, but you and I do, is that Albert is actually like one of the most powerful wizards of all time.
Yeah.
Which you find out in Mort. So like he might know more than Death does, but he is in this kind of like subservient role to Death just so that he doesn't have to pass on.
Yeah. It's very, Mort is very good. That should be your next Discworld, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that for sure.
But there's a part where they're talking and Death is like asking Albert, like, so the poor kids just get whatever they get and the rich kids get this stuff? And he's like, yeah. He's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. It's very, to me anyways, it was super blatant. Like the criticism of the like Santa lie, myth, whatever you want to call it in general, and also consumerism. And yeah, I again, like Pratchett presents it in such a funny way that sometimes I feel like maybe it gets overlooked, like the themes and stuff. I'm not really in the Discworld like fandoms, so I don't know how much of it gets talked about.
Depends what kind of reader you are. If you're just reading it for the laughs, or if you are reading it like a
That's true,
somewhat sophisticated fantasy novel, which it really is, just with some extra jokes in there.
Yeah, and I think going on that, he makes, and I love his way of doing that because it's the mark of a good writer, where you can just read through this, plow through it, and enjoy the jokes and laugh and have a good story. Or you really could sit there and dissect that Pratchett's taken a pretty strong, like, not going to quite call him anti-capitalist, but a quite like anti-consumerism of the holiday on the book. I think he does it really well. Like you said, Death's getting chastised for being equal to boys and girls alike almost and just giving out gifts. Goes on that rant where he's talking about how it's unfair how it's supposed to be like the good, like it's supposed to be the same holiday for everybody, but it's objectively worse for the poor kids. And I think that's the part, I forget who says it, might be Albert or somebody, where he's like, well, what do the poor kids have? He's like, I guess they have the moons and stars. And well, I doubt they could produce the paperwork for that. It just cracks me up. It's true. And it's one thing, growing up that either we've all experienced personally or we've seen where it's, Santa to one family brought, the necessities, brought some clothes and some new shoes and stuff. Whereas Santa for the other family, brought a new bike, brought
A
some
new
Legos or
PlayStation
something.
5.
Right, a new PlayStation. I think having a character who is so literal like death to be able to, in a jokey way, kind of explore that critique and commentary is really, really well done. And probably a little risky because you could risk treating your reader like they're stupid when you do it that literally. But the way he's
Mhm.
already written death and the way that he presents it throughout the story, it makes it work really well.
But it's not all cynicism too, because as he continues to bring up, if there is no Hogfather, the sun will not rise in the morning. We need that sense of wonder. And I think one of the characters in this novel that really kind of captures that balance between wonder and cynicism is his granddaughter, is Susan.
Yeah.
What did you guys make of her?
She's the GOAT. She's
I
so
love her.
good. Like you say, she's that perfect blend of just normalness, but also that, and I love like there she's like, grandpa death or whatever, like just stop with all this. But she's on board with the mission, she's uh and I think and at the end of the day, like she helps get the job done, right? With the whole tooth fairy side of the things, accessing where death can't, and, which is another just fantastic bit. Yeah, she's probably my favorite character in the book. She's so well written, and it's refreshing when we kind of get to see through her lens and get to her thoughts inside of the story.
Yeah, I think even how she deals with the kids in the beginning is a good indicator of the kind of character that she is, where the kids, ask her if she believes in the Hogfather, and her response to them is literally, doesn't matter if you get presents. But at the same time, the kids come to her and say, Susan, we've got a monster in the closet. And she's like, here's my poker. Meanwhile, all the adults are, oh, that's so brilliant. You are faking doing this. And she's like, nope. But even there, it shows that she kind of straddles both worlds. She lives in this world where, she tells a little girl, stop talking the baby talk just so that you sound cute, because you're not cute. But then we'll also, put her life on the line for these kids in a whimsical kind of way. I think it tells us everything we need to know about her, honestly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you.
truly, truly.
But touching on something you got to, Colin, what does it say about the fact that the Tooth Fairy is actually the boogeyman? That was something that I think I had to process a little bit more than the commercialization things. So what do we think Pratchett's saying there about maybe fears and wonder?
Well,
I have
first
an
of
idea,
all,
but yeah.
it makes sense because a mythical being that goes around collecting teeth, that's
Creepy.
that's scary as shit, okay?
Creepy.
You're saying this fairy is coming into my window, reaching under my bed for my teeth to collect them, and I guess as far as Pratchett is concerned, keeps them forever, and also they can control my mind.
Yep.
Honestly, the line, yeah. How did it take that long for anyone to make that connection, frankly?
Yeah, from literal off the page reading, 100% nailed it there. I also think it also kind of adds to the interesting kind of socioeconomic discussion there too, because when you start thinking of the Tooth Fairy is straight up money, right? And it's one of the first lines in the book where he's like, the good thing about money is everybody has it except the poor. And that's one thing too, like, there's so many kids that grow up just, almost every little kid grows up believing in Santa. But there's so many little kids that don't grow up believing in the Tooth Fairy. And main reason is because parents don't have disposable income, right? To just hand out for your losing your tooth. Even if it's, $5 can be, or whatever. Mine was always like $1 when I was a kid, but that could be real money to people in need. So I kind of saw it adding into that, and also just it's just funny that he can control you with your teeth, by it and your beliefs. I think that's really funny, and it sets up a cool fight, battle, I guess.
I kind of connected it a little bit to the kind of thesis statement of the piece, which again we'll get to. And I think what it comes back to for me is, and I may get in trouble for saying this bit here, but why do we invent myths and afterlife, whatever you want to think of, like the Christian religion or any religion that has like a view on the afterlife? Why do we create it? It's because we're fucking afraid of what happens after we die. Like Shakespeare says, the dread of something after death. It is this, do we need to believe in the big lies because they shield us from what we are truly afraid of? And that to me is why I think watching the miniseries almost clicked that more for me than reading the book, of like, I think that's the point he's trying to make, is that we create these big lies to prevent us from the dread, from the fear, the existential paralysis of, if things like justice don't exist, then holy shit, what kind of world do we live in? And that is another bit of where, like you said, Colin, I kind of was like, God, you're writing this in 96 when Bill Clinton was president. And I know you're not a US citizen, but like, we're dealing with Trump now. And the idea of justice and all this stuff, and this might be a sore subject for you, Colin, considering your line of work, but I don't know that I believe in all that stuff anymore. And those are some of the big lies that Pratchett here is saying. We need the little lies like Santa Claus so that we can believe in the big lies like justice, like mercy, like duty. You know, I one of the things that I highlighted in this book is Susan says, you're saying humans need fantasies to make life bearable. And Death
too.
says, you know, yes, you have to start out learning to believe the little lies like justice, mercy, duty, that sort of thing. Take the universe and grind it down to the finest powder and sieve it through the finest sieve, and then show me one atom of justice, one molecule of mercy, and yet you act as if there is some ideal order in the world, as if there's some rightness in the universe by which it may be judged. I don't know, the times that we live in today, I'm starting to lose some belief in those things that we all held to be true 10 years ago.
So Trump has everybody's teeth, is the conclusion that we're coming to.
Yeah, somebody got to the tooth fairy here. But yeah, I mean that's such a good connection that Pratchett makes with, like, if we can't get kids to believe in the Hogfather, how the hell are we going to get people to believe in something as, obscure as justice and all that? It's so good, and it's so true. Like, I mean, just the concept of justice is made up, right? It shouldn't be, but it really is. And people stop believing in something like justice, and it's gone. There is no justice. It's something we're seeing eroded away in real time.
I talked to Heidi about this a little bit before. The one thing I didn't like about the book, and I think it's just a sign of the time, it's a sign of its age, is in the assassin plot, you have a lot of interesting characters, but then you have Banjo. And while Banjo is he's lovable in the fact that, like, he ends up being the Tooth Fairy and he's the good one out of the group, it's still, as somebody who considers myself a bit of a disability advocate, it's not great disability writing. And especially, I don't know if you listen to the audiobook at all, Colin, but in the audiobook, she gives him such a disabled accent, if you will.
Yeah.
And again, this was written in 96. We have to remember that this was, 30 years ago. Disability rights were just kind of coming into the forefront. But he's the one character who's writing to me, just like every time he would come up and just, it would be a joke about him and his learning disabilities. It was like, stop, please. Let me enjoy the rest of this book. But how did we feel about the assassins? And again, I'm coming from very much a world of disability, so I'm wondering how you both received the assassins.
Yeah, I agree with you about Banjo. He kind of comes across almost as like a caricature, which kind of, it's not great, like you said earlier, Ryan, but still, even with kind of the temporal aspect, it's not great how he is written. I think as a reader, you can't help but feel like a little, just a little put off by Banjo.
Now, I want to make clear that I do think that Pratchett was trying to make a commentary a bit of everyone writes him off except for Susan. So, but
Yeah.
there's too many jokes at his expense where it
Yeah.
feels like Pratchett was punching down rather than punching up.
Yeah. The bandits as a whole, they're really funny. I'll give you that as a whole. I love the of him like you're supposed to be the best like locksmith in the town and you can't get through this lock. He's like, I can do every lock, just not magical locks. And it's the match like the one thing he needs to do is really funny.
The
One of
whole
the things,
running gag about
yeah.
Teatima.
Yeah, I can't believe
Tea
we haven't
time.
mentioned tea time yet. Oh my god.
Chicken wire, another amazing name, right? Might be one
Medium
of my
Dave is
favorite.
crazy.
One of my medium tea. I've always
And
said
then
my
the
favorite
footnotes for each of those were great. Those
So
were some of my
good.
favorite footnotes.
I've always said my favorite name in fantasy is from Joe Abercrombie, and I think it's Before They Are Hanged or Last Argument Kings. It's one of them. It's just a one-liner, and a character's just named Bad Enough, and I love that so much. It's all you need to know because he's just bad enough. But Chicken Wire and Tia Team or whatever they call him, and Tea Time, those are some of my new favorite names in fantasy. Their plot as a whole is really funny how it just unfolds, and even the finale where like I guess Banjo will be now the new Tooth Fairy and taking up residence in that spot. It's just so just random and silly and out of pocket. It's really funny. But yeah, I enjoyed their plot quite a bit, not as much as the death bits and Susan's point of view and stuff, but obviously their clash with Susan, all that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe we haven't talked about Tea Time or whatever the hell. He says it in the miniseries. In the miniseries, he says it so strangely. Like it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like it should be tea time.
I kind of
It's
like
like Tea
how creepy the
Tame.
actor made him in
I
the miniseries, though.
hate him in the miniseries. I hate
I mean, but that's the
him in
point.
the miniseries. In the sense that I hate the acting. Like
Okay.
it
I
takes
thought it was an
he takes
interesting
me out of it.
choice. I thought it was an interesting
Yeah,
choice.
it was. Yeah, I mean, it is. I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
I sometimes like the more out of the blue kind of acting choices.
Yeah,
at
I think
times.
it's mainly his voice. But anyway,
He does have a very grating voice, I will say that.
I just don't. And he's not British. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I was gonna make that point that you had mentioned, Dan, about Banjo and Susan sort of like being the one who believes in him, and I thought that was a good choice, like a spotlight in a sea of not great disability writing as far as Banjo is concerned. But as far as the assassins go in general, Tea Time is like he's having such a like intimidating character that's not death and is also so silly. Like I thought he was very cool, and I a little bit regret watching the miniseries because it just really ruined it for me.
I enjoyed it.
Even though I do overall, but him specifically, I did not. Susan though is fantastic. I love her. I didn't grow up believing in Santa, and so like a lot of her storyline I really related to, as far as like I not understanding the point of it and then being made to understand it later on by death. But anyway, the assassin, sorry, I got off on a little bit. But the names were the best part. Their footnotes, especially Chicken Wire, I don't know, I think he might have been my favorite one. Medium Dave is the funniest, but Chicken Wire is my favorite. Because it's just so silly. Like sometimes I feel like the jokes are a little bit I don't know, out of pocket, kind of unnecessary, if anything. Like they don't add anything really sometimes. And honestly, it's not a criticism. It's things can just be funny. That's okay. They can just exist and be there to be funny. And I think the assassins, that was a lot of their dialogue. It was kind of, to me anyways, it kind of just felt like they were just kind of a funny group of dudes doing something.
But they also brought the horror a little bit, like the idea that
Tea time,
of the child's painting, and then each of them kind of being picked off by their own fears. Like there's some elements of horror in an otherwise pretty funny book here. And I think what's interesting is horror is always about how you frame it, right? Like he could have easily dwelt more in the horror and made it more horrific, but because he's a more of a comic writer, I think it's easy to brush off some of that and not think about it. But if you think about a lot of what went down in the Tower of Bones, that's pretty horrific stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, one of my last questions for you. Does this work as a holiday read, do you think? Is this something that you could see yourself returning to in future years around Christmas time? Or was this like a fun one-off read and, that's it?
Yeah, I think it 100% works as a holiday read, especially closer to Christmas time. I think this would be a really, really like because it's such fast pace. You could knock this out in a single sitting if you really wanted to. I think this would be like a fantastic Christmas Eve book, especially if you're not with your family or something. I personally will a little inside baseball. We're not in December yet, but I definitely will. I 100% see myself rereading this once we actually get into December, once in California finally can get under 70 degrees. Once we kind of get into that.
Oh, we're already
into
there
that
in
move.
Philadelphia here.
Man, it's at 92 today in San Bruno. But once we get into that season, I think it does work really well. It's so funny. I mean, they even make fun of, the 12 Days of Christmas song. I sent my love back a nasty little letter. I love it. It's so funny. It's definitely a good holiday read.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's very 'tis the season, and honestly, yeah, like Colin said, it's not quite December yet as of recording. I enjoy rereading books that I reread a lot for like seasonal stuff. I will be coming back to this one for sure in December when I am feeling like a 'tis the season read. Are there a lot of Christmas books? I feel like I haven't read that many.
There's some. I think I'm drawn more to the ones that are funny and a little bit irreverent and a little bit cynical. I'm not the kind of person who loves the Hallmark sentimental, everything is right with the world and Christmas kind of stuff. So reading one that is a little bit cynical and a little bit deconstructionist, I think this is right up my wheelhouse at least. And I had a feeling that it would be. That's why I recommended it as what I thought would be my first Discworld before I decided to read Mort. But I think this might become an annual read for me around this time of just finding myself back in this. Books that you might recommend if you liked Hogfather, what else might you recommend to people?
Well, we've said it about 10,000 times, which Mort. Honestly, you should read Mort first. I guess you don't have to, but Mort is one. Any other Discworld, like I just said, I haven't read too many Christmassy books, so I don't have a Christmassy book recommendation that I can think of. I have been racking my brain all day knowing we were going to record. But if you liked this, you will like other Discworld books.
Yeah, I was also going to take the cop out and say, if you like this, you should read other Discworld books, because I've only read The Color of Magic, like I said, but the Hogfather has everything that The Color of Magic did well in one book and expands on it and makes it better. So I think for what it's worth, this is a highly rated Discworld book. I did some seeing research, see if there's a consensus. It's generally highly rated, but it's nowhere near most people's top of their Discworld. There's a lot of Discworld books that people think are a lot better than Hogfather, and I thought this one was the best Discworld one I've read so far and very good. So I'd imagine that there's a lot more treats for you if you kind of dig this one and want to go deeper.
You've read 9 of them, Heidi. What's your favorite Discworld book you've read?
It's Mort. It's not really close at this point.
Mort was very good.
Seems to be the consensus too.
It's quite good, and I think Mort is the 4th. I think.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, 4. And yeah, this one was my 9th. I'm gonna say this one is 2nd out of the 9. Like, if I was ranking all of them, I have a list somewhere of which ones that I've read, but it's the first 8 and then this one, basically. And I have just Discworld on my list for the podcast, so we will be reading more of them in the future.
So I already mentioned that Good Omens would be a book that I'd recommend picking up. But again, that's Terry Pratchett. So if I were to go away from him, I don't know if either of you have ever read anything by this author. When I was younger, I used to be into an author named Christopher Moore, and he has a couple books. He writes in a very similar, I don't know if he's inspired by Pratchett, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was. He writes in a style where sometimes the plot is supported by jokes and sometimes the jokes are supported by the plot. But a couple of his that I really enjoyed were Lamb, the Gospel According to Biff, Christ's Childhood Pal, Fool, which is a retelling of King Lear from the Fool's perspective, and A Dirty Job, which, if you like death, that's his series that's about the Grim Reaper. So I don't know if I put him up there with Terry Pratchett, but if you enjoy the kind of jokey with a plot kind of writing, he's another author I would recommend checking out.
Cool.
All right. Well, our next week's book is a Heidi pick. So Heidi, would you like to hype us up about it?
Yeah, we are going to be talking about The Running Man, Stephen King. See my Stephen King magazine. Also, I have the physical. It's somewhere on my bookshelf back there. I could have grabbed it before this, but I didn't. But yeah, The Running Man. I'm super looking forward to it. I love dystopian. Stephen King's my favorite author.
This will not be the last time we read Stephen King.
No.
100%.
And yeah. So super looking forward to talking about that one. There's a lot of really interesting themes in it. Yeah, I'm stoked.
I'm excited for this one. This will be I think only my second Stephen King book ever. I
What
started
was
it.
your first?
My first was 11/22/63.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
I've read
best.
it.
That's probably one of my
read-
favorite books of all time. So
I've read
Yeah.
it, and I think I've read. I read Salem's Lot. I started
So
the Stand, but I never finished it.
That
But I'm
one's
excited to get through a shorter Stephen King novel, because all the ones that I pick are massive
Yeah.
bookend type books.
yeah,
Yeah.
this will be a fun one.
Yeah, it's
a
quick.
good. It's really quick, as we'll talk about. Anxiety-inducingly so.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And
And
I'm
then
glad to
we'll
hear that you
check
guys
out the
have read
movie.
thicker Stephen King books, because that means you enjoy his long-windedness.
Yeah, I mean, I think 11/22 is a masterpiece. That's
It
one of my
is.
all-time favorite books.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the series with it's James Franco, right?
Nope, I refuse to on principle.
Makes sense now. At the time, I don't think I think it was before we realized who James Franco was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Never look up to your heroes. Not that James Franco was ever a hero, but
I was gonna
Yeah.
say that's a
Wait a
very
second.
random hero to have.
thank you guys for listening. For the podcast, I'm Daniel,
I'm Heidi.
I'm Colin.
and keep reading. Goodbye, everybody. Hey, everyone. Before we go, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us at contact@wordswordspod.com. Don't worry, I'll put it in the text of the show. Or you can find us on Instagram at wordswordspod. Whether you have book recommendations, thoughts on today's discussion, or just want to say hi, we are always excited to connect with fellow readers.
And speaking of community, if you're looking for more conversation between episodes, we've got a Discord server where we talk books, share recommendations, and just generally geek out about all things speculative fiction. The link is in the show notes, and we'd love to see you there.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast needs served. It really helps us reach more readers and keep those conversations going. Thanks so much for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time on Words, Words, Words.